Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called How to Read Polish or Something. Well, I hardly doubt that I'm going to be able to read Polish after watching one video, but let's see, let's keep an open mind. Let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
What is this? Who created this? Is this even a real sentence, or did a cat walk on my keyboard while carefully avoiding vowels?
Yeah.
Did Polish people eat their vowels during occupation and couldn't afford to grow new ones? Yes, and soon they're going to eat yours unless you learn to read this mess before they find out where you live.
Yeah, I think the problem is, yes, it's the lack of vowels, because there's literally a couple of A's, an O, an E, but there are complete words without vowels, so how am I to pronounce this?
Luckily, to read this, you don't need to learn a new alphabet. This isn't Cyrillic or Asian moon runes. Additionally,
But it could be because it looks similar. I have no idea how to read this.
unlike English, each letter represents a specific sound, so as soon as you learn what each letter sounds like, you win. Obviously, the ability to read does not equal the ability to understand,
Yes.
but it just might impress your Polish friends enough to stave off their appetite. Now keep in mind, I'm not a real teacher. I have no higher education, no real experience with teaching anyone anything, no more knowledge than a typical native speaker at best, and I didn't even pay attention in high school, so feel free to consider me the best person for the job and ultimate authority on the subject.
Are you at least Polish?
Okay, let's have a look at the first word, wszyscy. I've heard people say it has no vowels, but it does. This letter here is a clear vowel in Polish and makes the sound I, like in the word system. While in English it can also sound like I in Y, E in study, or even Y in yellow, because English makes no sense.
My brain short circuits, I think I forgot how to read, speak, or anything. Okay, yeah, but I get it.
In Polish it always makes the sound I. The same goes for every other vowel. A, O, E, I, O, U.
What are those things in the vowels? What's a little, I don't know, they have a foot, what is this? A little moon?
All make one specific sound with no exceptions. There are two versions of U, but both sound exactly the same. It's dumb, but so am I, so I can't judge.
Okay, so what's the difference? What does it mean?
Now I would like to say it's the same for consonants, but there is one tiny exception I noticed while writing this. W in wszyscy should sound like wy, wódka, wojna, but it seems to soften up to an F, wszyscy. I suggest ignoring this issue completely because frankly, who gives a shit? I can hardly tell the difference myself. We know now that
An F, okay, I'm still stuck on the F. It sounds like an F? What?
this is wy and this is I. Time for this. Every time these two letters are together, they make the sound sh. English does the same thing, except instead of using S and Z, it uses S and H, like in shoe, shenanigans, or shower, which you haven't taken for too long and I can smell you from here. In addition to sh, we also have a bunch of other little shits stuck together to form new sounds. Whenever you see any of these, they each make one sound, which makes the scary sentence at the beginning significantly more manageable. Now for the last sound we need to explain in the word wszyscy. This is ts. It's like a vocalization of the drum sound when your dad makes a joke. Badum-ts. Except shorter. Cycki, cena. S needs no explanation, as it's exactly the same in both languages.
Does it though? I'm starting to believe it does.
So we're done. You should now be able to decode wszyscy. Unlike in English, where letters have dreams and can be whatever the hell they want, in Polish you simply pronounce each sound one after another and you get the word. W, sz, I, sy, cy, I. Wszyscy. Okay, so we've explained a bunch of stuff and
something like that. Obviously, I didn't pronounce it correctly. He makes it look so easy.
Decoded wszyscy. Now let's continue reading the insane-looking sentence I had started this video with. We already know sh. Next we have ch, which is a combination similar to English C and H in words such as children, touch, and chop. Now Polish ch is a bit harsher than its English counterpart.
Yeah, it sounds harsher than the S. Obviously, the SH is sort of softer. This is harder, tougher.
There's also a comparable softer sound, ch. You can hear both in the word cześć. English version falls somewhere in between those two.
Oh my god.
Next we have the vowel O. It's just O. It has always been O, and that's all it ever will be.
Okay, that's
Unlike
easy
in
one.
English, where it can be O in mob and rob, O in broke and smoke, but also A in stop and mom. And don't get me started on two O's sounding like U in food, but O in door. Truly, English makes no sense.
That's because they're together. I know, I think English it's easier.
And should be abolished. Moving on.
That's
D
crazy.
is the same
To me, I don't know if it's making a joke, but to me, English is just easier.
in both
than
languages
this.
and needs no explanation. Je is a combination not similar to anything I can think of in English, but there
Je?
are some French names you may be familiar with, such as Jean-Claude Van Damme, which seem to use the same je sound.
Oh, it's
Je
je.
can be written in two ways, both sound exactly the same, but for any given word, only one is correct. That's dumb, but luckily we're trying to learn to read here, not write, so you don't have to worry about it. There are some very rare cases of R and Z not forming ż, but you'll probably never encounter them, and I can only think of one example, marznąć, so I'd recommend to forget about it and act surprised when you run into this 5 years from now.
Or maybe just ignore that word completely and never actually pronounce this.
Vowel E. The sound is E and nothing else. Even if a Polish person were to read the English word even, it would probably sound even, because vowels in Polish don't care about your soft tongue and refuse to bend.
Even?
But you know what
Even?
does bend? The sponsor of this... Nah, just kidding. I don't have a sponsor. I have not yet been szczodrze given the opportunity to sell myself out. And so we're done with the word szczodrze. 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 Now for głaszczą.
Every time I try to attempt this, I know that I'm butchering it.
G is the same as in God, given, or game, but not G in forge. For that kind of
Oh,
sound,
okay.
we have the combination of D and Ż. Dżem, dżuma, or for double the fun, dżdżownica.
It's just tripping me out. How come you need two letters to make up one sound? What?
Ły is like W in English work or way. A is
a
another
W?
unchanging, never-bending vowel. It's not hard, but it is in the word hard, and that's what it always sounds like. While in English, it often replaces other vowels when they come to work sick, such as O in full, E in angry. In Polish, it's always A.
Oh, okay.
We've already covered sh and ch, so next is O. It's like
I already
A with a little
forgot. I
tail.
already forgot about how those two sounds, what those two sounds are. I already forgot about it.
It's cute. The same sound shows up in the word telephone. In theory, it's supposed to sound always the same, just like other vowels.
Yeah.
But I guess it can sometimes turn into on if you don't try hard enough. Like
So he lied.
in the word mądrość, it often sounds like mądrość, and no one seems to care. Now then, głaszczą is done. Time for wstrzemięźliwe.
Oh my
I know
God.
this word looks ridiculous. After all,
Yes.
that's the reason I created this nonsensical sentence to begin with, but bear with me. We start with the already known to us
It's terrifying to see a W, an S, and a T, and an R, and a Z together. That's just what on earth?
W from wszyscy, kinda softened up to an F, but whatever. S and T are the same as in English. So far so good. If you can draw someone's attention while whispering pst, you can also say
Oh.
pst. Next we have Ż and E, already encountered in szczodrze, then M, the same as in English. Strzem. Now vowel E. Like the rest of them, it always sounds the same. Instant fit defeat. E. Easy. Next up is E. Similarly to how A had a variant O, E has a variant E. You take that E and you drag it a little bit. E. It's like you have E in thank you and E in thank you? It makes sense if you don't think about it. J. Another case of two ways of writing this sound and only one being correct for any given word.
Oh,
One is
no.
technically shorter than the other, but it's not all that noticeable. Źle, zima. Z and E together always make a Z sound. As far as I know, there is no Z in Polish, and if there is, it's probably a borrowed foreign word. L, the same as in English. E, W, and E have already been covered, so we're done here. W, S, T, Ż, E, M, I, E, Ź, L, I, W, E.
This is ridiculous.
Wstrzemięźliwe. Wstrzemięźliwe. Last word in our monstrosity, pszczoły. By now you've realized that what may look like 5 consonants stuck together is actually just 3. P is the same as in English, and everything else we've already mentioned. P, sz, czy, o, ły, y. Pszczoły. Now if you were a perfect student capable of learning everything on the first try, which you are not,
Not
you
me.
would be able to now read Wszyscy szczodrze głaszczą wstrzemięźliwe pszczoły. This sentence, however, does not contain everything, so let's...
I'm sorry, but if someone spoke this sentence to me, I think they were having a stroke or something similar, and I would call 911.
fill in the gaps and teach you how to read every Polish sentence there is. In theory, anyway. Here's all the stuff there is. Here's
What's
all
that
the
mean?
stuff we haven't covered yet. And here's all the stuff we haven't covered yet, excluding things identical in English. Let's start with ch, you hardworking human. It's exactly the same as in English, except it has two variants. C and H together also make ch. And I've been told this version is supposed to be a bit softer, but I honestly
What kind of sound was that? What?
can't hear the difference, so most likely neither will you. Chleb, chiny, honor, horror. Yi.
Huh?
In English, you often write down this sound as Y in words such as yellow or yes. If you wanted to force Poles to read
What?
English against their will, you
It's
could
yellow.
write these words like this. Yellow, yes. Ni. Two versions, one short
Hold on, that was very confusing to me. What? It's what?
shorter, one longer, that sort of thing. You start with an N and soften it to ni. Koń, niski, danie.
Ni?
Rather simple.
Nie?
I'm 90% sure it's not a Monty Python reference. U. Two versions, both sound the same, always U. Dumny, grubas, Kraków. It will never be A, no matter how hard it
Oh, that's how you pronounce Krakow? Krakow?
craves English but. R. While in English, depending on the accent, R is sometimes barely even there, in Polish it's
Oh, yeah,
always
yeah.
der. Tough as nails and ready to drill holes in you. Have
Okay.
fun trying to pronounce that, and if you do, dobra robota. She.
Oh, that sounds
It's
funny.
like a softer sh, which I've
Dobra
already compared to English sh in shoe.
Dobra Robota?
Siła, siorbać, coś. From the harshest to the softest,
Shush.
I drank them like this. Dzy. It's not much different than if the letters were separate, to be honest. Feels like this merge is simply the effect of reading d and z very fast. Pieniądze, dzwonek. It's not dzwonek, but dzwonek. I suppose it could be considered a harsher ts.
Yeah, but it sounds, obviously he's pronouncing it really fast, and it makes sense when he's doing it, but I don't think it makes sense in my head
Dży.
when I try to do it.
We've covered z turning into ż, and now this can merge with a d into dż. Dżem, dżuma. You use a close enough sound when calling the name of the world's favorite religious figure, Jesus. In Polish, we call him
Yeah.
Jezus, but if we were to pronounce his name the English way, we'd write it down as Jesus. And lastly, G. Like before, we had a z turning into zi, and now we merge that with d to make dzi. Now that I think about it, maybe this would fit the English Jesus more. Dziwny, dzik, dźwięk, Jesus?
G.
In any case, if
Those three sounded identical to me.
you've prayed hard
Not gonna
enough
lie.
and your faith in the Polish Jesus is strong, you should now be capable of reading Polish.
No,
You still won't understand anything, but at least the jumbled mess of consonants should make a little bit more sense. And if you're lucky, you might not throw up anymore at the mere sight of the word wszyscy. Praise Jesus, or your vowels will be eaten.
This was great. He was a really good teacher. Maybe I'm just a pretty bad student. I think he tried to explain it quite easily, and I think he tried. He did his best. I think I can't. I seriously I can't. I tried. Maybe if I watch this twice and maybe I try to practice quite hard, maybe I would be able to understand it and sort of make progress. But seeing it as it is, I think it's really, really, really tough. I was left with the whole, I still want to know what the sentence meant because it looked crazy and now I'm so curious to know what it means. Maybe something extremely silly as in, I don't know, then something nonsensical as, I don't know, my horse is in the car. Something that doesn't really make any sense. But now I'm so curious to know because it sounds crazy. I think it's still like a vowels. That's really the whole sort of, my brain wants to sort of shut down because obviously how do you pronounce things without vowels? But then, obviously it just depends on what language, of course, but I think, usually you kind of need to have vowels to pronounce things. But in this case, I like that he did his best to explain this to us, the audience. And I think maybe in the future, again, it would be, at least to me, well, I kind of get it. It's not pronounced because me solely, I would have thought, oh, okay, so the first one's a W and an S. So I'd be this shit. No, I get now. No, there are certain words, there are certain letters that do not, it's not really the sound that you're not supposed to pronounce it as you do in English because they make a different sound. And a lot of combination as in the S and the C, for instance, that's something that's different. That's not when you see those two, it's actually one sort of sound. And okay, so it's sort of, I think that was shoe, so G, I think that's how, no, shoe as in shoe, so she, no. I can't see, this is what I mean. I start get very, oh my god, I can't understand this. But I know there was another one that's similar, but it was harder, and I think the S with the C, I think it was sort of a softer sound. So that's why I think it was sort of G, I think. And of course the Y, it says as an I, so G, and the S, C is also, the Z is also something else, and the B, the W, that was very confusing to me. Because it sounded, he said, oh, it sounds like a J, but also with as an F. So it's what? I think it makes sense in your head. It doesn't make sense to me. It's sort of something, I don't know. We need to practice this. And that's just one word. I don't know. Still, Polish looks extremely hard. It's an extremely hard language to learn. I don't know how you would go around this. I don't think if they would teach you first how's the pronunciation, or as in, again, for you to be able to sort of get the sense and the general idea, as in how he was explaining it. If you see those two letters together, they make this sound. And I don't know if they kind of explained this to you, the first step is learning that it's not that weird. Or they maybe teach you the words first. I don't know, how to write it probably, and how to make things work, as in, for you to make sense. Or maybe this is the last step in towards learning. I would assume that's the case, right? I think maybe they will teach you when someone's teaching you Polish. I think they would attempt first. You need to write it first for you to be able to actually understand what the actual sentences and what the words mean. So you'd be able to sort of communicate. And then I think the last part would be the pronunciation, because I think even though, and I think that maybe applies to other languages, I think. Well, okay, it doesn't matter if your pronunciation is perfect, because obviously it won't be if you have, it's a language, it's a foreign language to you. It's going to take you years for you to master this. And even then, I would venture to say maybe some foreigners and immigrants that have moved to Poland, and they were not as an adult, probably, because I think for kids it's easier to sort of pick up languages and accents. But if an adult moves to Poland, and okay, they obviously they learn Polish, and they do their best, and they can communicate perfectly, and they can write it perfectly because they've lived there for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. But then I think, but when you're listening to them, obviously for a foreigner, it's going to sound perfect. But I wonder, for Polish people, you're going to, I'm listening, I'm picking up on an accent, and I know that you were not originally from here, because even though you speak perfect, and of course we can understand each other correctly, and of course it's great, and your Polish is great, of course your accent is not going to be absolutely perfect, because even despite living there for years of your life, I really do believe it's a really, really tough sort of accent, because it's a really tough language to pick up. So maybe I'm totally off, but I venture to say that's really the case. And again, it doesn't really matter, because it's possible. And I think as long as people can understand each other and you can communicate well with other people, I think who cares how your pronunciation sounds? Because again, it's obviously people come from a lot of different places and people have different accents. So again, who cares? But I think with Polish specifically, and I think that goes for a lot of languages, that I think for Polish in particular, I think that it's extremely, extremely hard to sort of master this, for people to even understand you, to be able to, I'm picking up on an accent, but I think you speak perfectly fine, and I'm completely capable of understanding you. I think it would be extremely hard to get to that point. Again, maybe it's easier if you move to Poland and then you don't really have, not an excuse, I think, because it's not an excuse, but I think maybe you would have an easier time sort of learning this, because you're immersed in the language, and maybe you're constantly around people that they are speaking Polish. So of course it's going to be easier to sort of pick up on this. It's sort of as, I don't know, when you, as in, your accent can sometimes depend on the people that you've been talking to lately, or if you're talking to someone and they're from maybe another place. And I think subconsciously you try to imitate them, and then your accent sort of switches around and changes. I think that's, and again, you maybe, oh, they're making fun of me. No, they're not making fun of you. I think that's just a natural part of I don't know, a lot of people have this. They just, again, they sort of pick up on the accents, and your accent sort of changes depending on, again, on who you were speaking to, or what you've been doing that day, or what the past few months or weeks or whatever. So I think obviously that imagine that tenfold, because you're in somewhere where they just simply do not speak another language. So you have really no choice, but, well, it's either learn Polish or die. So I think that would be the kind of perfect place for you to learn. Although I think it would be extremely hard, because again, it's already a very tough language, and I can't imagine being so isolated. But obviously, I think a lot of people there probably obviously speak other languages, so maybe it's not either learn Polish or die. Maybe not that dramatic, but I don't know. I think it would be, well, on one hand good, because I'm gonna learn it a little bit quicker, but on the other, whoa, what a nightmare. I'm going to attempt to communicate, but I'm gonna do very poorly, and people are not gonna be able to understand me. But again, maybe that's you need to be smack at the head with the Polish language in order to understand something like this, because it looks it's daunting. It's very daunting. It looks scary, and even then, again, it's not, this video, I thought it was great. He looks like a great teacher, despite him saying, "Oh, I have no teaching experience." But it's really tough. I think I guess Polish people understand. I would assume you guys need to understand this language is extremely hard. It's not an easy thing, and it's hard. It's really funny because he was mentioning, it's different from English. Of course, he's communicating this in English, and he's saying, oh no, the word is not as in English, which doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical. All of these things don't exist, and it's really hard. It's why I think English is it's one of the easiest language, I think, to understand and to learn. But I don't think that's a tough language at all. I think it's just very, very easy to learn. It's not Polish. I think English is very easy. So it surprises me that for him, English is quite hard. You speak Polish. What are you talking about? Polish is extremely, extremely hard. I think once you master Polish, I think, okay, well, maybe you would feel, well, what language can I, maybe Finnish. I think that's another really, really tough language, but I think, well, you would feel on the top of the world. There are a few other languages that you're able to, that you'll be left to sort of conquer. Obviously, the others that have different alphabets, as in Russian or Mandarin. Well, yeah, of course, those are another thing, because you have to learn alphabets and another type of alphabets. But to me, it's sort of, between learning a different alphabet and this sort of Polish situation, I think they're in the same sort of level, because they both look just as hard. Yeah, sure, but this is the same sort of alphabet. Well, is it though? I think the fact that the pronunciation is so completely different, and the letters are being combined in ways that I've never seen before, that makes it enough for me to be, maybe it would be easier to just learn, another alphabet. I think would be easier to me. Well, your mileage may vary. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!